My friends, I just pressed the Let's Go Live button, so let's wait for the stream to fire up all across the fruited plain of the internet before we go ahead and get started. We are coming in hot right in the middle of congressional activity, and so we've got to make sure the streams are working and alive and well before we jump into everything, and it looks like we are working. That's tremendous news. Let's go ahead and get started, shall we? Hello, my friends, and welcome back to yet another episode of Watching the Watchers Live. My name is Robert Gouveia. I am a criminal defense attorney broadcasting from the Valley of the Sun deep in downtown Phoenix, Arizona. And today, my friends, we are talking about being censured. We're talking about Adam Schiff, Shifty Schiff in the house. And boy, this has been something that is we've been paying attention to all day. In fact, it's going on right now, like literally. Here is what's happening over from C-SPAN. Let's check in. This is Representative Luna, just took to the podium arguing on the institution. Censuring Adam Schiff.
Schiff ripped apart American families across the country with repeated false narratives. His own political good was served by permanently destroying family relationships and sowing lasting division across our land, which we live with every single day. The perpetrator of this web of deceit became mainstays on cable news, waking up every morning with one goal: to lie to the American people that there was a direct evidence of Russia collusion.
She's talking about.
Despite transcripts from Schiff's investigation showing that the Director of National Intelligence, former Obama Attorney General, and FBI Director, to name a few, went on record telling Schiff's committee that there was no direct evidence for his criminal conspiracy. Yet to this day, Schiff actively fundraises off of his exploitation of Americans as if robbing them from the truth and $32 million in taxpayer dollars was not enough. Can anyone in this chamber comprehend this list of crimes and yet somehow believe that there should not be an answer for it?
No.
This is not a partisan act. This is not a conservative versus liberal vote. This is a clear vote between right and wrong, and I urge you to do the right thing. I will end with repeating with what I started with. The American people do not trust Congress. The cyclical pattern of lies has worn down the credibility of every institution and every official in the United States government. You see it, I see it. If we run away from this opportunity to hold this man accountable, there is only one fault, and that is of ourselves. We will betray the people who trusted us and sent us here to do the right thing. We will be responsible for the end of any shred of justice in this body, and we will reject the duty that we swore an oath to protect upon taking office. I reserve the balance of my time.
Gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Maryland is recognized.
This is live. We're going over to Raskin now, I guess.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today we meet
now he's got cancer.
Not to lower the costs of prescription drugs.
That explains the thing.
Nor to expand President Biden's infrastructure plan, nor to protect the voting rights of the people, nor to protect the health care choices of women across America, because we know they're definitely not interested in that. No, we meet rather for another stop on the GOP's endless revenge tour against Democrats who dared to tell the truth about Donald Trump and his repeated sellouts and betrayals of the American people over the last 6 years. It's all about Donald Trump tightening his stranglehold over Republicans for the 2024 campaign and driving out anyone who dares to think for himself or herself.
It sounds like your party, man.
Don't take my word for it. Just read Friday's statement by the twice-impeached inciter of insurrection, sexual abuser, defamer of women, and indicted pilferer of national security secrets, war plans, and top-secret classified documents himself. On Friday,
that's
Trump
good.
posted
That's like a 30
this
combo.
order to his followers and this unveiled threat to anyone who would dare to defy his control over the GOP.
Wonder how many interns
Quote,
it took to put that together.
Any Republican voting against Adam Schiff's censure or worse should immediately be primaried, he wrote. The Luna resolution is a weapon of mass distraction from Trump's indictment by a Florida grand jury on 37 federal charges relating to obstruction and unlawful retention of defense information for storing dozens of classified, secret, and top secret documents at his Florida resort, in his bathroom, his bedroom, and beyond, and then refusing repeatedly for more than a year to return any of these official documents to the archives and the FBI. It's amazing to me that they have to change the subject from one of Donald Trump's current offenses against America to one of his older offenses, welcoming Russian interference in the 2016 presidential campaign. Russia repeatedly intervened in the 2016 campaign to help Donald Trump, and that's not a matter of opinion. That's a question of direct positive fact. Special Counsel
Facebook
Robert
ads?
Mueller, the former FBI director, whose report is cited authoritatively by Ms. Luna, found right at the beginning of his report that, quote, the Russian government interfered in the 2016 presidential election in sweeping and systematic fashion.
Still?
Here's what the CIA, the FBI, the NSA, and the Office of the Director of National Intelligence found in 2017. Russian President Vladimir Putin ordered an influence campaign in 2016 aimed at the U.S. presidential election.
Wow.
The Mueller investigation and the Moscow Project documented more than 250 episodes of collaboration and meetings between Russia and the Trump campaign, including Paul Manafort's repeated passing of campaign secrets, such as polling data to Konstantin Kilimnik, a Russian agent, and the infamous meeting on June 9, 2016 at Trump Tower, led by Donald Trump Jr., Jared Kushner, and Russian lawyer
He should have put his
Natalia
kids on the board of an
Veselnitskaya.
energy company in Ukraine.
Senator
That would be a
Marco
better.
Rubio, the Florida Republican, stated that the U.S. Senate Bipartisan Select Committee on Intelligence, quote, found irrefutable evidence of Russian meddling in the American campaign. So, the Mueller report, if you read it, makes no pronouncement on collusion, the putative crux of the distinguished gentlelady's complaint, because as Mueller writes, collusion is not a legal offense or a legal concept, and so the whole question of Trump's collusion with Russia is in the realm of opinion. And most Americans would see a lot of collusive activity all the way up to the present day, when Donald Trump refuses even to take the side of the Ukrainian people against Vladimir Putin's filthy, bloody imperialist invasion of their country, which has been filled with lies, atrocities, and war
Russia
crimes.
for like,
in any event,
10 years
we
now?
don't censure members over a difference of opinion.
No, he
Mr.
made up
Speaker,
evidence.
We're seeing
Jamie.
the complete ethical collapse of a once great political party. The Republican Party began as a pro-freedom, anti-racist, pro-immigrant, anti-know-nothing party.
Have they prosecuted their political enemies yet?
Personality taking orders from an inciter of insurrection, a bully and braggart whose rage towards Mike Pence and whose spectacular disrespect for the rule of law endangered not only our entire constitutional order, but everyone in this room.
Wow.
The party of Lincoln and his Lincolnites has become the party of Luna and her Luna followers.
Luna!
Today's madcap antics
I thought he was going to say lunatic.
deflection from Trump's
He got
deepening
close.
legal troubles, his allegedly criminal conduct in pilfering, hoarding, and refusing to return national security documents has caused his own Attorney General, William Barr, to say that, quote, Trump's conduct is indefensible. He's not a victim here. He was totally wrong, and there is no excuse for what he did here. Yesterday, Representative Boebert offered a resolution of impeachment against President Biden. The GOP simply has no ideas for our economy, no ideas for our country, and no idea for our people, but is on an embarrassing revenge tour on behalf of Donald Trump, who treats them like a ventriloquist dummy.
Wow.
I reserve.
Gentleman reserves.
Yeah, the
Gentleman
GOP
with Florida
is pretty
recognized.
useless. He is right
I
about
yield
that.
2 minutes of my time to the gentleman from Tennessee, Representative Ogles.
Gentleman is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you to my colleague and dear friend, Congressman Luna.
All right, so this is all happening live, which is why we're checking in with it right now. This has been going on all day, all afternoon. The censure of Adam Schiff, pencil neck.
Abused his power of chairman of the House Intelligence Committee to create false narratives that were sold to the American people about President Trump. The Mueller report and Durham report both proved that the basis for the so-called Russian collusion investigation was non-existent. The representative from California misled the American people and compromised the interests of the United States of America.
Yeah!
In service of defeating, persecuting, attacking, and defaming President Donald Trump.
That's right. Talking about
Mr.
pencil
Speaker,
neck.
he was hasty, he was prejudiced, and he was wrong. It's clear he was concerned for no one but himself and the advancement of the Democratic Party, their political agenda. $32 million later, the American people are left with lies and the obligation to pick up the tab for this boondoggle of a political witch hunt. The representative from California prioritized personal political gain over the interests of our nation, and he more than deserves to be censured by the people's House. The Democratic Party has allowed an invasion on our southern border, where every small town in America is now a border town. Every one of us knows someone that's been poisoned or overdosed because of fentanyl. Illegals are raping and killing people across our country, and what do? They claim to have a solution, and they have none. Mr. Speaker, I thank you for your time. I yield back.
Manager Reserves, gentleman from Maryland is recognized.
I yield to the distinguished gentleman from California, the former chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, Mr. Schiff, for as much time as he may consume.
Oh, we got
John's
pencil neck here.
recognized.
All right, here it is.
To my Republican colleagues who introduced this resolution, I thank you. You honor me with your enmity. You flatter me with this falsehood. You
Oh, wait,
who are
maybe
the
this is not
authors of a
live.
big lie about the last election must condemn the truth tellers, and I stand proudly before you. Your words tell me that I have been effective in the defense of our democracy, and I am grateful. And yet this false and defamatory resolution comes at a considerable cost to the country and to the Congress. At a moment when millions of people in our home state of California are unable to find a place to live or afford a place to live, Speaker McCarthy chooses to occupy the resources of Congress for 2 straight weeks on this hollow sop to the MAGA crowd. He offers nothing to those who are homeless or addicted to opioids or to millions of college students mired in debt, but this paltry distraction. Donald Trump is under indictment for actions that jeopardize our national security, and McCarthy would spend the nation's time on petty political payback, thinking he can censure or fine Trump's opposition into submission. But I will not yield, not 1 inch. The cost to the Speaker's delinquency is high, but the cost to Congress of this frivolous and yet dangerous resolution may be even higher, as it represents another serious abuse of power. Donald Trump has threatened that any of you that defy him and vote against this partisan resolution will be met by a primary challenge. And he calls for my imprisonment. If a transient majority can punish and attempt to silence members who hold a corrupt president to account, there is no telling what further corruption of office will follow. And I say this to Speaker McCarthy and others who wish to gratify Donald Trump with this act of subservience or bend to his demands. Try as you might to expel me from Congress or silence me with a $16 million fine, you will not succeed. You might as well make it $160 million. You will never deter me from doing my duty. No matter how many false justifications or slanders you level against me, you but indict yourselves. As Liz Cheney said, there will come a day when Donald Trump is gone, but your dishonor will remain. This resolution attacks me for initiating an investigation into Trump campaign solicitation and acceptance of Russian help in the 2016 election, even though the investigation was first led not by me, but by a Republican chairman. It would hold that when you give internal campaign polling data and your polling data to a Russian intelligence operative, while Russian intelligence is helping your campaign, as Trump's campaign chairman did, that you must not call that collusion, though that is its proper name, as the country well knows. It would fine me for the costs of the critically important Mueller investigation into Trump's misconduct, even though the special counsel was appointed by Trump's own attorney general. It would reprimand me over a flawed FISA application as if I were its author or I was the director of the FBI. And
No,
over
they all
flaws
should be censured
only
too.
discovered years later and by the Inspector General, not Mr. Durham. In short, it would accuse me of omnipotence, the leader of some vast deep state conspiracy, and of course, it is nonsense. But here is the real gravamen of my offense. I led the first impeachment of Donald Trump for one of the most egregious presidential abuses of power in our history. And I led a trial which resulted in the first bipartisan vote to remove a president in history. And I would do so again. I warned that if Trump was not held accountable, he would go on to try to cheat in even worse ways in the next election, and he did, inciting a violent attack on this very Capitol.
Yeah.
And after that, I participated in some of the most important hearings in congressional history, hearings that exposed Donald Trump's incitement of a dangerous insurrection to prevent the peaceful transfer of power. My colleagues, if there is cause for censure in this House, and there is, it should be directed at those in this body who sought to overturn a free and fair election. The question, my Republican colleagues, is not why am I the subject of this false resolution for doing my constitutional duty, but why are you not? Why are you not standing beside me, the subject of a similar rebuke for speaking the truth? Why did you not stand up to Donald Trump? Why did you not reject his immorality? Why did you not condemn his dishonesty? Why did you not speak out when his horde attacked this Capitol, or now when he treats the nation's secrets with such carelessness, lawlessness, and disdain? Why did you
like
hide
putting him in his
from
garage?
efforts to hold him accountable? Why were you silent?
Why is the FBI
afraid,
burying the FD-1023?
unwilling to do your ethical, constitutional duty?
Where's
Why
Merrick
did you
Garland
cower?
at?
Why did you cower? And why do you still? Will it be said of you that you lack the courage to stand up to the most immoral, unlawful, and unethical president in history, but consoled yourselves by attacking those who did? Today, I wear this partisan vote as a badge of honor.
No.
Knowing that I have lived my oath, knowing that I have done my duty to hold a dangerous and out-of-control president accountable, and knowing that I would do so again in a heartbeat if the circumstances should ever require it. I thank you, and I yield back.
All right, so that's Adam Schiff. Now, Congress is doing a bunch of stuff at the moment, and so let's see.
Gentleman reserves. Gentleman from Florida is recognized.
All right, so we have ongoing conversations. Now, I was trying to see if there was an actual vote taking place tonight, because here's what I had prepared for us to go through. And of course, we sort of just jumped right into things today. But we've got Durham coming up. I also want to get into this, but Representative Luna posted this today on her Twitter. She said the following. She explained, this actually was posted June 20th, 2023. She said, I have called up my censure motion. We'll be bringing the vote to hold Adam Schiff accountable to the floor tomorrow. That is today. And so I've actually pulled up the bill, or the resolution, I would say. And apparently it's being voted on tonight. So I was trying to capture that and see if we could go through it together. However, don't know exactly what they're doing in Congress right now. So Senate, this is a live session, but this live session started earlier this morning. And right now they're voting on small business health insurance. So we'll just put a pause on that. We'll see if there is an actual vote taking place right now. Apparently it's supposed to be happening tonight. So Luna posted this on her website. She said, Luna is bringing the vote to the floor Wednesday to censure Adam Schiff. Here's what she said. I've called up my censure motion and will be bringing the vote to hold Adam Schiff accountable to the floor tomorrow. I've spoken to many of my colleagues. A majority of the 20 will be changing their vote. We know she tried this previously and it had the penalty in there of $16 million and it didn't go through. Says, I've spoken to many of my colleagues. A majority of the 20 will be changing their vote, presumably tonight, as well as other members who were not in town for the initial vote. Let my office know how they will be voting with us. We have secured the number of votes needed to censure Adam Schiff and refer him over to ethics. Let me be clear, she says. This is not retribution. The GOP recently voted to refer one of our own to ethics for investigation. The fact is, as you saw today with Hunter Biden and the DOJ, there is a double standard of justice in this country. It is well within my right as Congresswoman to file a privileged motion to hold Adam Schiff accountable for abusing and exploiting his official position and bringing dishonor to the House of Representatives. I am fully aware of the constitutionality of it all, and that is what this is about. It says, I look forward to restoring honor to the House of Representatives this Wednesday and appreciate the members who have come forward to support this historical censure in an effort to bring accountability and trust back to this very sacred institution. It's important to remember that in Congress, although we hold the House, we do not have the Senate or the White House. We have a select number of tools like these privileged motions and the Holman Rule that we can utilize as individual members that will not go to die in the Senate. As I've stated before, I am representing the interest of those who trusted me to come here and do the right thing, as well as those who have felt that their voices have been ignored and the issues and their wishes disregarded. So they're still voting on the small business health insurance acts. And there were a lot of arguments about censuring Adam Schiff. Looks like this is a little bit of Bennie Thompson. Let's see what he had to say.
For giving me the time. Mr. Speaker, with all the challenges our nation faces today, why are we relitigating the ex-president's first impeachment from 2019? After a similar resolution failed last week, why are extreme MAGA Republicans hijacking this House yet again by devoting precious floor time to attacking my friend and colleague, Adam Schiff? Maybe it has something to do with the fact that the leader of their party is facing trial on 37 felony counts of conspiracy and mishandling of classified documents. The disgraced ex-president even stole some of the nation's...
All right, so we're trying to figure out what is going on right now, and DC Drano is on the scene. He's there. He says, okay, the final Adam Schiff censure vote is expected in the next 15 minutes. However, that was a while ago. Then 4 minutes ago, he said, still waiting. A few other amendments to other bills have been introduced. Looks like they're making everyone eat their veggies before we get dessert. So they're getting real close to having the vote in. And let's see what's going on over here on this session. This says this is live. And
resolution back to the House with sundry further amendments adopted in the committee of the whole.
The chair of the Committee of the Whole House on the State of the Union reports that the committee has had under consideration the bill H.R. 3799 and pursuant to House Resolution 524 reports the bill as amended by that resolution back to the House with sundry further amendments adopted in the Committee of the Whole. Under the rule,
all right, so we're waiting to see if
is ordered. Is a separate vote demanded by any further amendment reported from the Committee of the Whole? If not, the chair will put them in grow. The question is on the adoption of the amendments. Those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. The ayes have it. The amendments are adopted. The question is on engrossment in the third reading of the bill. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no.
Oh, I'm in the way here.
Have it. Third reading.
A bill to amend the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 to provide for health reimbursement arrangements integrated with individual health insurance coverage.
What is this? Now we're talking about health care coverage.
Seek recognition.
Mr. Speaker, may we have order in the House?
Yeah, we got, I see Crenshaw. There's Crenshaw.
The House will be in order. The House will be in order. For what purpose does the gentleman from Texas seek recognition?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have a motion to recommit at the desk.
The clerk will report the motion.
Mr. Doggett of Texas moves to recommit the bill H.R. 3799 to the Committee on Ways and Means.
The House will be in order. Please take your conversations to the cloakroom. Pursuant to Clause 2B of Rule 19, the previous question is ordered on the motion to recommit. The question is on the motion to recommit. Those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. In the opinion of the chair, the noes have it.
Speaker, on that, I request the yeas and nays.
The gentleman from Texas requested the yeas and nays. The yeas and nays are requested. Those favoring a vote by the yeas and nays will rise. A sufficient number having risen, the yeas and nays are ordered. Members will record their votes by electronic device.
So they're still voting on some other things. While they're working through that, I'm expecting a vote tonight, and it sounds like DC Drano is confirming that. He says they're just finishing some stuff up. And so we'll keep checking back in with the House. But before they vote on it, let's see what they're actually voting on. And here we have the censure resolution. And remember that Luna tried this previously, and in the prior bill, she had a $16 million fine that was going to be assessed to Adam Schiff. And several people, like Thomas Massie, opposed it. They said this was a penalty that was unconstitutional and it needed to go. So what Luna did is revise this. This is now H.R. 521. And I actually pulled this directly from Congress.gov, where you can go and follow along if you would like to see what they are doing. And here is what that looks like. So this was the most recently submitted one. You can see this was latest action, House 620, notice of intent to offer resolution. Mrs. Luna notified the House of her intent to offer a privilege resolution pursuant to the clause in Rule 9. The chair announced that the resolution will be made at the time designated for consideration of the resolution. So we've got the full bill here, and let's take a look at it in PDF format so we can see what this will be about. And they're still voting on this health insurance bill. Send small business health insurance bill to committee. So they're voting. Vote faster. We want to get to the good stuff. So you can see this is out of the 118th Congress first session, censuring Adam Schiff, representative out of California. The resolution says that whereas the allegation that President Trump colluded with Russia to interfere with 2016 has been revealed as false by numerous in-depth investigations, including the recent report by Special Counsel John Durham, which documents how the conspiracy theory was invented, funded, spread by President Trump's political rivals, one of them named Adam Schiff. Whereas Representative Adam Schiff, who served as ranking minority member and then chairman of the Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, occupied positions of extreme trust, affording him access to sensitive intelligence unavailable to most members of Congress. And he used that very intentionally. They say for years, Representative Schiff abused this trust by alleging that he had evidence of collusion between Russia and Trump. But it's clear from reports by Special Counsel Robert Mueller, Department of Justice Inspector General Michael Horowitz, and Special Counsel John Durham that that never existed. Now, they're going to say that they had conversations about poll numbers and stuff. Every little thing that they can extrapolate out, they say was collusion. Meanwhile, Hunter Biden sitting on the board of Burisma and Daddy Joe getting $5 million payments allegedly are nothing to even bat about. It's just a conspiracy theory by the MAGA Republicans. They say for years, Representative Schiff has spread false accusations that the Trump campaign colluded with Russia. And Representative Schiff also on March 20th, 2017, very specific date now, perpetrated false allegations from the Steele dossier accusing Trump associates of colluding with Russia into the congressional record. Read the whole thing into the record. And let's pause there for a minute and talk about this other concept that I wanted to also get into later when we talked about the Durham stuff. But the House GOP posted this on their Twitter account, and they gave us a diagram, which is good. It's not great, but it's good. House GOP says, found your collusion, Representative Schiff. And they've got this drafted out for us. You see, Christopher Steele is kind of at the heart of this whole thing. You've got the Kremlin and all the other parties involved. And we can really go through this and mark this puppy up. So let's do it, shall we? Remember, many of these parties we've talked about, the Kremlin, that's the evil Russians. We've got Charles Dolan and then Igor Danchenko. And Igor was allegedly somebody who was the source of Christopher Steele. Christopher Steele drafted the dossier, which was the PP tape, which was totally made up. And then allegedly that dossier found its way over to the FBI. The FBI used that in a corrupt fashion, basically knowing it was fraudulent, to get the FISA warrants, which enabled them to go and spy on the Trump campaign and further this fake narrative, this fake hoax. Now, we here spent a lot of time on the Michael Sussman trial. And we noticed that Michael Sussman's name is not in here, but it should be in here. Michael Sussman was on this board, highly involved, as was Mark Elias. We know that both of them at the time were actually working with Perkins Coie. Somebody else you may recall, Jake Sullivan, the current national security advisor, who is on our locals account. He comes and yells at us because he's so smart. He went to Oxford. Blech. So Jake Sullivan, he was also on the Hillary Clinton campaign. And all these people were involved. And so Mark Elias was working with Michael Sussman. Michael Sussman got his hands on this dossier because of Fusion GPS, which was contracted out by Perkins Coie. So Clinton hired Perkins Coie. They've got these two people who are these like sort of legal hitmen who are taking this. Sussman takes this dossier, sends it over to the FBI. Simultaneously, he's pushing this out to the media, and the media is running with this story, and they post it all over the place such that it goes back over to Jake Sullivan, who works for Hillary Clinton, and he posts it on Twitter. And so Michael Sussman is playing both sides. He's playing the FBI with a fake story produced by Christopher Steele, and he's also spreading it to the media. This was the try to get two things done with one fake story. They would go to the FBI and they'd say, hey, FBI, you better investigate this before the media publishes it. Then they'd go to the media and they'd say, do you know that the FBI is investigating this? You better publish a story about it. The whole thing was fake. And the question is, why weren't there more prosecutions in any of this? Michael Sussman got away with this scot-free. And we know that he was there's even another person here that we're very familiar with, James Baker, who used to work for the FBI, then went over to Twitter, and then was fired from Twitter once Elon bought the place, probably deleting and cleaning up all the emails from the FBI collusion and suppression that they were doing back during the 2020 election. So yeah, this chart looks pretty disgusting. It's because it is. Multiple layers of people who were involved in this giant scheme. So we go back to Luna, and Schiff comes out and is explaining that all of this is true, but it's all fake. The Steele dossier is totally illegitimate. It says that Trump, went to Russia and some prostitutes, urinated on him in a bed somewhere in a hotel. So she continues, she says, once again, abusing his privileged access to classified information, Schiff released a memo justifying the accuracy of the foreign intelligence surveillance warrant application on a Trump associate called Carter Page. And so if we go back to this diagram, the FISA warrant is the court that allowed them to go and spy on Trump. And all of this was done on false pretenses, not accurate. And the FBI knew and should have known about it. And Schiff picked it up and tried to cover it up. Later found out by the Inspector General, Horowitz, to have 17 major mistakes in getting that warrant. Also provoked the FISA court presiding judge, her name is Rosemary Collier. She stated unequivocally in one of her opinions, the FBI misled the FISA court, all right? The FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, they're not idiots over there. I mean, let's be real. Okay, all right, maybe I oversold that. But, they know what they're doing, right? Their malicious activities are done with intent. So, oh, we forgot to file it in the wrong place or something. No. It's convenient that all of your little mistakes happen one direction. So Luna continues. censuring Schiff, says, as ranking minority member and chairman of the Intelligence Committee, Schiff behaved dishonestly and dishonorably on many occasions, including publicly falsely denying that his staff communicated with a whistleblower to launch the first impeachment of President Trump, setting it up. Whereas Luna says, as part of his impeachment efforts, Schiff, during a hearing in September 26, 2019, Schiff misled the public by reading a false retelling of a phone call between Trump and President Zelensky. Fake transcript. Phone call didn't happen that way. It was a fake created transcript between Trump and Ukrainian President Zelensky. On March 28, 2019, every Republican member of the Intelligence Committee signed a letter calling for Schiff's immediate resignation as chairman of the committee. And Schiff hindered the ability of the Intelligence Committee to fulfill its oversight responsibilities, and this is an indispensable pillar, they say, of our national security. I'm sure it is. Whereas these actions of Schiff misled the American people, and they brought disrepute upon the House of Representatives. And so therefore, Luna says, be it resolved that the House of Representatives of this 30th Congressional District censures Adam Schiff of the 30th Congressional District for simply misleading the American public and for conduct unbecoming of a member of the House. They say that Representative Adam Schiff will forthwith present himself in the well of the House of Representatives for pronouncement of the censure. So you get your big butt down right here in the middle of this room, Schiff. We're going to scold you. Schiff will be censured with the public reading of this resolution by the Speaker. Well, that'd be fun. The Committee on Ethics shall conduct an investigation into Representative Adam Schiff's falsehoods and misrepresentations and abuses of sensitive information. Drafted by Representative Luna. You see, of course, here no mention of a $16 million fine or penalty. And so this is the one that is presumably right there in front of the House of Representatives. And we are waiting and waiting for any activity. And the House is still voting on the small business health insurance bill, and time's up. And so let's see what the next session might bring for us.
Does any member wish to change their vote? This vote, the yeas are 220, the nays are 209. The bill is passed. Without objection, a motion to reconsider is laid on the table. Pursuant to Clause 8 of Rule 20, the unfinished business is the vote on adoption of House Resolution 521, on which the yeas and nays are ordered. The clerk will report the title of the resolution.
Here it is.
House Resolution 521, resolution censuring Adam Schiff, representative of the 30th Congressional District of California.
The question is on adoption of the resolution. Members will record their votes by electronic device. This is a 5-minute vote.
5 minutes, baby. All right, Congress, get to it.
This last vote in the House is on a resolution to censure Congressman Adam Schiff over his claims about former President Trump's ties to Russia while serving as chair of the House Intelligence Committee. A vote to censure Representative Schiff was blocked last week. This resolution today was revised to remove a $16 million fine. Now, if the censure is approved,
this lady's doing
Congressman
a great
Schiff
job.
would
Thank
be
you.
the 25th House member to ever be censured.
Well, thank you for that background, madam. We appreciate you joining us here today on our show. Oh, look at this. All right, so we have the votes coming in. It's 141 yays to 132 nays. We had some people last time who did not vote in favor of this, and we have their names and images. here. We got 2 voting present. We got 4 minutes left. These are the people last time who voted against this. Armstrong, North Dakota, Fitzpatrick, Pennsylvania, Kim from California, probably pals with Shifty. Obernolte, Mike Simpson, Lawler voted no last time. Kay Granger, Lori Chavez. Last time we had Rep. 1, oh man. Let's get this properly zoomed in. 1, Cisco Manny from Arizona, voted no last time. Kylie from California, McClintock, Molinaro, Womack, Volado, Turner, Ohio, all voted no last time. So it's 200 to 190. We've got 3 minutes left. 2 voting present. Yeah, so if your reps are on there, Mike Simpson, you're going to have to see how they vote this time. We're up to 205. Three are voting present now. Yeah, and so I was pulling up the document. We remember the term censure, little background here, unlike the word expel, does not appear in the Constitution. Although the authority is derived from the same clause, each house has the authority to punish its members for their behavior. Censure is a formal vote by the majority of members present. So the majority of the members present. We've got 1 minute left. It is currently 2:11 to basically 2:09 because 3 are voting present. We've got 14 who are not voting.
1 minute remaining in this vote.
So is it the number who are voting? Is it just the simple majority of the voting? 49 seconds and it gets quiet out there. They suddenly start quieting down in Congress. "30 seconds. The censure of Representative Adam Schiff. Are any votes? Yes, we got a 208. We got a vote just jumped in the nay. We've got a 3-vote differential between the yeas and the nays. 3 are voting present. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Get those votes in. 3, 2, and 1. And that's the game. 4 vote present. 212. 213. It came in after the clock. Who was that person? 213 to 208. Clock is out. 5 voting present as the tallies continue to come in. 6 vote present. So in the House of Representatives, this is from CRS. It's now 213 yays to 209 nays. We see Pelosi's having a conversation, it looks like with her caucus over here. I see Pelosi right there in the red. She was speaking earlier. They're gaveling in.
Have all members voted? Does any member wish to change a vote?
On this vote, the yeas are 213 and the nays are 209. With 6 answering present, the resolution adopted. Without objection, the motion to consider is laid on the table. House will be in order. I'll wait.
They're yelling shame? They're not happy about that.
The House.
Democrats very unhappy. Adam Schiff just censured.
The House will be in order.
I believe we're going to have Adam Schiff brought down to the well. He's there.
The House will be in order.
Oh, be quiet! Get your butts in order! Where's Schiff? Bring his butt down here.
The House will be in order. Will Representative Schiff present himself in the well?
Yeah! Yeah, baby. Get your butt down there. Get on down there.
By its adoption of House Resolution 521, the House has resolved that the House of Representatives censures Adam Schiff, representative of the 30th Congressional District of California.
Pipe down! Censure them too! You're next! Censure all those people! You're all censured.
I will begin again.
We'll do this all night, kids. We'll be here all night.
By its
I don't care.
adoption of House Resolution 521, the House has resolved that the House of Representatives censures Adam Schiff.
I got all night, kids. Where's the Capitol Police? Where's the This is obstructing an official proceeding. They are obstructing an official proceeding right now. Jacob Chansley obstructed a proceeding, they tell us. McCarthy can't even do his job. Where's Liz Cheney? Somebody call Liz Cheney. McCarthy, call the police.
By its adoption of House Resolution 521.
That's twice.
The House has resolved that the House of...
3 times! Call the cops, man! Call the cops. Round them up. Insurrection. They're insurrecting America.
I have all night.
Right now, insurrecting America. As
By
we
its
speak.
adoption of House Resolution 521, the House is resolved that the House of Representatives censures Adam Schiff, representative of the 30th Congressional District of California, for misleading the American public.
Yeah, he did. Sorry, he did.
And for conduct unbecoming of an elected member of the House of Representatives, that Representative Adam Schiff will be forthwith present himself in the well of the House of Representatives for the pronouncement of censure. That Representative Adam Schiff will be censured with the public reading of this resolution by the Speaker. And that the Committee on Ethics shall conduct an investigation into Representative Adam Schiff's falsehoods, misrepresentations, and abuse of sensitive information.
All right, you people better be quiet now. It's time to read this document. We can't be here all night. We'll do it, but we've got a resolution to read. All right, who's in the House? We got Boebert right here. I saw Pelosi in the red. Shifty's over here. There he is. Lots of hugs. Hey, man, you did a great job lying to America. We love it. We love it. Keep it up. You're doing a great job. Make up more stuff. We don't really care about it at all. What are you working on now? All right. Oh, you're going to run for Senate? Oh, you're going to do the same stuff over in the Senate? Wow, that's great. Yeah. How much money are you raising off of this? Wow, that's great numbers. It's amazing. So is that it? Are we done? I thought we were going to read the resolution. Are they taking a break or what's going on here? 213 and 209. There's Ted Lieu. I thought they were going to read the whole resolution. Because isn't that what the resolution says? We just read through it. Yeah, Representative Adam Schiff will be censured with the public reading of this resolution by the Speaker. Is that not happening tonight? Hopefully the Capitol Police are outside rounding them up right now. Has anybody checked the FBI's Twitter account? Have they identified the violent insurrectionists who obstructed a government proceeding? That was obstruction. 3 times we heard from McCarthy. We're waiting for the House to do something.
Before the House, the following enrolled bill.
All right, so I guess that's it.
Senate 30, an act to authorize major medical facility projects for the Department of Veterans Affairs.
All right, I guess that's it then. So I thought that they were going to read the full resolution. Looks like that's not going to happen, but maybe another time. Maybe they rescheduled that for a later date. Don't know. But that is historic, my friends. H.R. 521, censuring Adam Schiff, passes. And he has been censured and scolded by Congress for being somebody who was dishonest, self-serving, partisan, and political in order to advance his own interests, not the interests of America. So tremendous victory. Big shout outs to Representative Luna and other Republicans for squeezing this one through. We know that Kevin McCarthy supported this, said that Adam Schiff earlier abused his position as chair, lied, and led America through a national nightmare with a fake Russian collusion narrative. Saying, as Speaker, I removed him from the Intel Committee, and now the full House will vote to censure him and open an ethics investigation. And of course, that happened. Now, earlier today, before this all went down, Pelosi came out very upset about it. We'll see what she says in the aftermath. Here's what she was complaining about, though, before.
The former Speaker of the House of Representatives.
Gentlewoman's recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I thank the gentleman for yielding and for his great presentation today. Today, we are on the floor of the House where the other side has turned this chamber, where slavery was abolished, where Medicare and Social Security and everything were instituted. They've turned it into a puppet show. A puppet show. And you know what? The puppeteer, Donald Trump, is shining a light on the strings. You look miserable. You look miserable. The only advantage to all of this is that instead of reversing what we did on the IRA to save the planet, or reversing what we did to reduce the cost of prescription drugs, you're wasting time. Adam Schiff is one of the greatest members of
The gentleman's time has expired. The gentleman's time has expired. The gentlelady's time has expired.
He said his is expired?
You're done.
The gentleman from Maryland's time has
Not your house
expired.
anymore. Get out.
Okay.
The gentleman from Florida is recognized.
You're done. Bye. Thanks. Sorry, not your house anymore. So that is a nice update on Adam Schiff. Censured! Man, what a total loser. You know, what a loser, man. Who gets censured these days? Adam Schiff does. Typical. So that is the update on that one. I'm glad we were able to get through that live and in real time. Tons of fun. But that was not the only activity today. There was a lot more. A lot more. Special Counsel John Durham finally showed up to Congress and explained his report, and he cut a lot of grief from a lot of people. One, of course, is Adam Schiff, who is now censured. What a total loser. Who gets censured? He got censured, of course, because he's a corrupt partisan hack. But we also have Matt Gaetz, who was really disappointed with John Durham's report and kind of led into it here in Congress on this day. Jim Jordan leads the committee, and we've talked about this problem, the Russian collusion hoax, the Christopher Steele dossier, the fake PP tape, and all of this stuff in the Michael Sussman trial that we spent a lot of time here at length covering. And we were excited to hear from John Durham. And the hearing took place for hours today. And you can watch the full thing, but we've got a couple highlights that we have pulled out, including John Durham's opening statement, where he explains exactly what he investigated, and more importantly, what he found. Here's what it sounded like.
Now, thank you. Again, good morning, Chairman Jordan, Ranking Member Nadler, and members of this committee. As the committee knows, on May 13th, 2019, Attorney General Barr directed me to conduct a preliminary review into certain matters related to federal investigations concerning the 2016 presidential election campaigns. That review subsequently developed into several criminal investigations and gave rise to my subsequent appointment as special counsel in these matters. Many of the most significant issues documented in the report that we have written, including those relating to lack of investigative discipline, failure to take logistical and logical investigative steps, and bias, are relevant to important national security interests that this committee and the American people are concerned about. If repeated and left unaddressed, these issues could result in significant national security risks and further erode the public's faith and confidence in our justice system.
Yeah, further. Going to be a lot harder.
As we said in the report,
than they're already doing.
our findings were sobering. I can tell you, having spent 40 years plus as a federal prosecutor, they were particularly sobering to me. A number of my colleagues who spent decades in the FBI themselves, they were sobering. While I'm encouraged by some of the reforms that have been implemented by the FBI, the problems identified in this report, anybody who actually reads the report and the details of the report, the documented portions of the report, I think would find that the problems identified in the report are not susceptible to overnight fixes.
Yeah, so the FBI claiming it's all been resolved is
they cannot
nonsense.
be addressed solely by enhancing training or additional policy requirements.
What is it? Defund
Rather,
them?
what is required is accountability.
Defunding
both
them.
in terms of the standards to which our law enforcement personnel hold themselves and in the consequences they face for violation of laws and policies of relevance. I'm here to answer your questions. I appreciate the opportunity to. I'll answer them to the best of my ability, and I hope to be of service to your oversight function. As I'm sure you know, the Department of Justice has issued some guidelines as to what I'm authorized to discuss and those things that I am not authorized to discuss. In this regard, accordingly, I'll refer principally to the report. I do want to emphasize a few points at the outset, however. First, I want to emphasize in the strongest terms possible that my colleagues and I carried out our work in good faith, with integrity and in the spirit of following the facts wherever they lead without fear or favor. At no time and in no sense did we act with a purpose to further partisan or political ends. To the extent that somebody suggests otherwise, that's simply untrue and offensive.
Well, you're going to get a lot of that today, John.
Second, the findings set forth in this report are serious and deserve attention from the American public and its representatives. Let me just briefly highlight a few of those. For one, we found troubling violations of law and policy in the conduct of highly consequential investigations directed at members of a presidential campaign and ultimately a presidential administration. To me, it matters not whether it was a Republican campaign or a Democrat campaign. It was a presidential campaign. Our team comprised dedicated and experienced prosecutors and law enforcement agents who worked day in and day out through the entire COVID epidemic in the office trying to interview people, all in an effort to try to get to those facts.
Yes, I know. You get a lot of great work, a lot of hard.
Who cares about our civil liberties.
Yes, got it.
A FISA order of surveillance of a United States citizen, which in our view is a significant problem.
Yeah, it is significant.
Several of the relevant FISA applications at issue in the Crossfire investigation omitted references to what was clearly relevant and highly exculpatory information that should have been disclosed to the FISA court.
So they got warrants on fake information, and they didn't include in the warrants information that would have proved the opposite of what they were claiming. They're claiming somebody is guilty. They have information in their possession that they know shows that person is in fact innocent, and they withheld that information from the judge.
Multiple FBI personnel who signed or assisted in preparing renewal applications for that same FISA warrant acknowledged that they did not believe that the target, Mr. Page, was a threat to national security, much less a knowing agent of a foreign power, which is what the law requires. It appears from our investigation that the FBI leadership dismissed those concerns. Another aspect of our findings concern the FBI's failure to sufficiently scrutinize information it received or to apply the same standards to allegations it received about the Clinton and Trump campaigns. As our report details, the FBI was too willing to accept and use politically funded and uncorroborated opposition research, such as the Steele dossier.
Funded by Clinton's
The FBI
people.
relied on the dossier and FISA applications, knowing that it was likely material originating from a political campaign.
Yep, knowing
opponent.
it was Clinton's fake
It
garbage.
did so even after the President of the United States, the FBI and CIA directors and others received
Obama.
briefings about intelligence suggesting that there was a Clinton campaign plan underway to stir up a scandal tying Trump to Russia.
Obama, Comey, everybody knew that there was an attempt to create a fake hoax, and they ran with it anyways.
The accuracy of the intelligence was uncertain at the time, but the FBI failed to analyze or even assess the implications of the intelligence in
No,
any
of course
meaningful
not.
way.
Because
When the
it served
FBI
their
learned that the
narrative.
primary source of information for the Steele dossier, which was basically the guts of the narrative about there being a well-coordinated conspiracy involving Trump and the Russians, when they learned that Danchenko was the primary subsource for those reports, it was at a time when the FBI already knew that Danchenko himself had previously been the suspect of an FBI espionage investigation. He was suspected of being a Russian asset.
Wow.
And nonetheless,
So they were very mad at Trump for colluding with the Russians, but guess what? The people who wrote the Christopher Steele dossier, Christopher Steele sourced through Igor Danchenko, was a Russian asset. So they're getting their fake information from Russia to try to blame Trump for being in bed with the Russians. You see how insane this is? And they got away with it. I mean, nobody's been prosecuted or criminal or convicted for any of this stuff.
they signed him up as a paid informant without further investigation
of that
espionage concern,
They're
to
just
say
getting
nothing of
characters for their
resolving that
fiction that they
espionage
can
matter
go out and
before
play in
using
the world.
Danchenko and Danchenko's information. And when the FBI and Special Agent Mueller's office learned that Steele's primary subsource likely had gathered important portions of the dossier information during travels to Russia with one Charles Dolan, it inexplicably decided not to interview Dolan or investigate his activities. Finally, I would like to add that although our work exposed deep concerns concerning facts about the conduct of these investigations, our report should not be read to suggest in any way that Russian election interference was not a significant threat. It was. Nor should it be read to suggest that the investigative authorities at issue no longer serve important law enforcement and national security interests. They do.
Yeah, but what does that
Rather,
have to do with
responsibility
Trump?
for the failures and transgressions that occurred here rests with the people who committed them or allowed them to occur. Again, to my mind, the issues raised in the report deserve close attention from the American people and their elected representatives here in Washington.
All right, well, we'll see if they give it any attention. So thank you for your opening statement there, John. Now, here is what Jim Jordan had to say in response to this. And as we talked about here many times, this is the document that the House GOP has shared. We see that they allege that the Kremlin was working with Charles Dolan, working with Igor Danchenko, who was the FBI informant that they paid. He helped generate the Steele PP tape dossier, went to Christopher Steele. Fusion GPS was hired as an expert outsourced company to work with the law firm called Perkins Coie. They got the data from Christopher Steele, worked its way back over to Mark Elias and Michael Sussman. They fed it, the dossier, to the FBI and to the media, the Clinton campaign, then posted that on the internet and said, hey, Trump's colluding with the Russians. Scientists have figured it out with the secret Yoda phones and all the stuff. And it was all fake. All of it was fake. The media ran with it. Michael Sussman got tried and acquitted on this because it happened out of D.C. and a juror said they got bigger things to worry about. The FBI was employing at that moment James Baker, who left and went and worked with Twitter after this fact, and before Elon caught him and had to fire him out of there. Giant Thing is a giant intelligence op, and they colluded to do it. when Trump won, they needed something that was going to keep him under their thumb. They always need leverage over the guy. So impeachment 1 started out of this giant fiction. Now, we read through the Durham report here, and I actually was quite disappointed with it. I mean, we wanted some conclusions and some action, and he gave us a nice big book report. But here is what Jim Jordan, the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, had to say when he got his turn at questions with Durham.
Mr. Durham, in the summer of 2016, did our government receive intelligence that suggested Secretary Clinton had approved a plan to tie President Trump to Russia?
Yes.
Was that intelligence important enough for Director Brennan to go brief the President of the United States, the Vice President of the United States, the Attorney General of the United States, and the Director of the FBI?
Yes.
And was that intelligence put then into a memorandum, a referral memorandum?
Yes.
And was that memorandum then given to Director Comey and Agent Strzok?
That's who it was addressed to, yes.
Did Director Comey share
Strzok.
that memorandum with the FISA court?
I'm sorry, can
Did
you?
he share that memorandum with the FISA court? Did Director Comey do that?
I'm not aware of that if he did.
Did he share it with the lawyers preparing the FISA application?
Not to my knowledge.
Did he share it with the agents on the case, working the Crossfire Hurricane case?
No.
Didn't share it with the agents on the case. Can you tell the committee what happened when you took that referral memo and shared it with one of those agents, specifically Supervisory Special Agent Number 1?
Okay, so we're going fast here, but FBI intelligence, the people at the top, the administrators, the executives on top, they've got this memo that has some pretty detailed information in it. We know that the people who are doing the actual work on the case, who are pursuing FISA warrants and investigating all this criminality, they don't have this memo yet that has the details that they might need.
We interviewed the first supervisor of the Crossfire investigation, the operational person. We showed him the intelligence information. He indicated he had never seen it before.
Wow.
He immediately became emotional, got up and left the room with his lawyer, spent some time in the hallway, came back.
He was ticked off, wasn't he?
Yes.
He was ticked off because this is something he should have had as an agent on the case. It's important information that the director of the FBI kept from the people doing the investigation.
The information was kept from him.
Who's
Why?
Charles Dolan?
Why?
Charles Dolan is a public relations person here in Washington, D.C. He had prior involvement, professional involvement with Russian government, representing Russian government interests. He was a person that was associated with Igor Danchenko.
He was also buddies with the Clintons, wasn't he?
He had held positions when President Clinton was president.
In their campaign advisory to Secretary Clinton's presidential campaign, executive director of the Democrat Governors Association. That's the same Charles Dolan we're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah, and wasn't he also a key source for information in the dossier?
He provided some information that was included in
Ritz-Carlton
dossier, yes.
stuff, the Manafort
Clinton
stuff. In the Crossfire Hurricane investigation and the Mueller
funneled the
investigation,
info
when the
over.
FBI interviewed Mr. Dolan, what did he have to say?
To my knowledge, they didn't interview Mr. Dolan.
They didn't interview
They
this guy?
did not interview him.
Source for the dossier? Key information in the dossier? Buddies with the Clintons, they didn't talk to him?
No, I mean, we report on that because even Christopher Steele in October 2016 identified Dolan as somebody that might have information.
I find it interesting they didn't talk to him. Were there agents on the case who wanted to talk to Mr. Dolan, Mr. Durham?
Yes.
What happened to analyst number 1? She kept pushing to talk to Mr. Dolan. She was ultimately turned down. What happened to her the day that she was turned down and said, no, we're not talking to Dolan? What happened to her?
At about the same time, she was assigned to a different project.
They moved her. They said, we can't have this. We can't have that. We can't be looking into the Clintons' buddy, a key source for the dossier. They reassigned her. And then what did she do?
She memorialized it.
She entered a memo to the file because she said, some point the inspector general is going to want to know this information. I'm going to make it sure it's recorded contemporaneously. She put it in the file. I mean, it's crazy. They didn't talk to the key source. They kept key intelligence from the investigators. This is how bad this investigation was. But here's the scary part. I don't think anything has changed.
No, of course not.
The day your report came out,
FBI said
5 weeks ago, May 15th, you got a letter,
all.
Mr. Durham, addressed to you from the general counsel at the FBI, Mr. Jason Jones, writes you this 6-page letter, and he says, not to worry, everything is fine. It's all been worked out at the FBI. He even says on page 2, he says, Had the reforms implemented by current FBI leadership, summarized below, been in place in 2016, failures detailed in your report never would have happened, and he underlines it. He said this would never happen because of the reforms we implemented in 2019 and 2020. And then he says on page 4, one of the specific reforms, he says, FBI executive management has instructed investigations should be run out of the field and not from the headquarters. That statement is not true. 5 weeks ago, the FBI wrote you and said everything has changed when in fact it hasn't, and a statement in there is absolutely false, and we know it's false because 2 weeks ago today, we interviewed Stephen D'Antuono, former head of the Washington field office, Mr. Durham, and here's what he said in his transcript. Head of the Washington field office, when the Trump classified document investigation began, he said, that case was handled differently than I would have expected it to be, than any other cases handled. We learned a lot of stuff from Crossfire Hurricane, that headquarters should not work the investigation. It's supposed to be the field offices. My concern is that the Department of Justice was not following these principles. Nothing is, and that's the thing that scares me the most. Nothing has changed. Mr. Durham, I'm just finished with this. 60% of Americans now believe there's a double standard at the Justice Department. You know why they believe that?
Because there
is.
There you go. Okay.
That has got to change. And I don't think more training, more rules is going to do it. I think we have to fundamentally change the FISA process. And we have to use the appropriations process to limit how American tax dollars are spent at the Department of Justice.
Man, all right.
I yield back.
Man, Jim Jordan and I are on the same page on this one. Yeah, we're on the same page on that one. All right. So that was Jim Jordan, who is the chairman of the committee, asking John Durham to fill in some of the gaps, but a lot of this stuff we already knew. We knew that these people were all in this big incestuous cabal, working with each other, funneling information around in order to further their political ends. And put this in the context of Hillary Clinton. She had her email problem, where she literally was sending classified email from a server that she created for herself. Trump is being prosecuted, had his whole house raided for classified documents. She had them in emails. She was sending emails from Wi-Fi on Xi Jinping's Wi-Fi network. So this was a big problem, but she didn't get raided or prosecuted for any of that. In fact, the FBI contorted themselves into a pretzel to excuse her. So she needed to fake and create some equal type of allegation against Trump. They did that with Christopher Steele and the Steele dossier. But as we unpack the layers of this thing, we now find out that Dolan and Igor and all of these people were in bed with the Clintons, basically. And the FBI took campaign funneled propaganda, disinfo. The FBI took it and ran with it, took it to the FISA courts, and started spying on Trump's campaign. That's why Adam Schiff got censured, rightfully so. Absolutely embarrassing. I can't even think of other people who've been censured. Only Adam Schiff comes to mind because he got censured. And so here he is taking an attempt at asking John Durham some questions. It's the representative from California who just got censured Adam Schiff.
Mr. Durham, just so people remember what this is all about, let me ask you, the Mueller investigation revealed that Russia interfered in the 2016 election in sweeping and systemic fashion, correct?
That's correct.
And Russia did so through a social media campaign that favored Donald Trump and disparaged Hillary Clinton, correct?
The report says, yes.
And Mueller found that a Russian intelligence service hacked computers associated with the Clinton campaign and then released the stolen documents publicly. Is that right?
That report speaks for itself as well.
Mueller also reported that though
Trump
he could not establish the crime of conspiracy beyond a reasonable doubt, he also said, quote, a statement that the investigation did not establish certain facts does not mean there was no evidence of those facts. That also appears in the report, doesn't it?
There's language to that effect, yes.
In fact, you cited that very statement in your own report, did you not? As a way of distinguishing between proof beyond a reasonable doubt and evidence that falls short of proof beyond a reasonable doubt.
Correct.
As an illustration of this, both Mueller and congressional investigations found that Trump's campaign chairman, Paul Manafort, was secretly meeting with an operative linked to Russian intelligence named Konstantin Kilimnik, correct?
That's my understanding, yes.
And that Manafort, while chairman of the Trump campaign, gave that Russian intelligence operative the campaign's internal polling data, correct?
That's what I've read in the news, yes.
Internal
And
polling.
that
data.
Manafort provided this information to Russian intelligence while Russian intelligence was engaged in that social media campaign and the release of stolen documents to help the Trump campaign, correct?
You may be getting beyond depth of my knowledge, but
Yeah, he didn't work on
Well,
any
let
of
me
that.
say very simply, while Manafort, the campaign chairman for Donald Trump, was giving this Russian intelligence officer internal campaign polling data, Russian intelligence was helping the Trump campaign, weren't they?
I don't know that.
You
but,
really don't know
sounds right.
those very basic facts of the investigation?
I know the general facts, yes. Do I know that particular fact myself? No. I mean, I know that I've read that in the media.
And are you aware, Mr. Durham, that Mueller and congressional investigations also revealed that Don Jr. was informed that a Russian official was offering the Trump campaign, quote, very high level and sensitive information, unquote, that would be incriminating if Hillary Clinton was part of, quote, Russia and its government support of Mr. Trump? Are you aware of that?
Sure, people get phone calls all the time
Yeah,
from
exactly
individuals who claim to have information like that.
Really,
Right.
the son of a presidential
Campaign.
candidate gets calls all the time from foreign government offering dirt on their opponent? Is that what you're saying?
We'd like to know. We have a question about that with old Hunty. He was getting a lot of phone calls from foreign people, including somebody on the board of Burisma, where he was getting paid $1 million a year, $80,000 a month for Lord knows what. So, yeah, we've got a lot of questions about these various phone calls, and we know from facts and evidence that Hunter was literally on that board.
I don't think this is unique in your experience.
So you have other instances of the Russian government offering dirt on a presidential candidate to the presidential candidate's son. Is that what you're saying?
I don't know about that, but we've got allegations that Hunter Biden was bribed, essentially, that he got $5 million in order to push some policy changes on Daddy, who was vice president at the time, and then he made those changes. We know that happened, Adam.
Would you repeat the question?
You said that it's not uncommon to get offers of help from a hostile foreign government in a presidential campaign directed at the president's son. You really stand by that, Mr. Durham?
I'm saying that people
Hunter.
can make phone calls making claims all the time that you may have
Are
experienced.
you really trying to diminish the significance of what happened here and
Yes.
the secret meeting that the president's son set up in Trump Tower to receive that incriminating information? Are you trying to diminish the significance of that, Mr.
I'm
Durham?
not trying to diminish it at all, but I think the more complete story is that they met and it was a ruse and they didn't talk about Mrs. Clinton.
Yeah, it was just a whole,
and
it was a dumb
you think
meeting.
it's insignificant that he had a secret meeting with a Russian delegation for the purpose of getting dirt on Hillary Clinton, and the only disappointment expressed in that meeting was that the dirt they got wasn't better. You don't think that's significant?
I don't think that that was a well-advised thing to do.
Not well advised.
All right.
Wow,
Yes,
that's the understatement of the year.
No, he should have joined the board. He shouldn't have met with them at Trump Tower. He should have joined the board of their energy company in Ukraine. That's what Don Jr. should have done. Or he should have, I don't know, flown over to China with Daddy on his vice presidential plane. Or he should have, I don't know, created a whole life of drugs and prostitution and other horrific things that people are alleging occurred that he chronicled and documented on a laptop. Maybe he should have done all of those things. He had a meeting with somebody who came in with oppositional research. Hillary Clinton faked it, created fake oppositional research. Schiff, this is about that. You're trying to blame Trump for sitting down and having a meeting and trying to pass that off as evidence of what you made up to happen, and that is not at all the truth.
So you think it's perfectly appropriate or maybe just ill-advised for a presidential campaign to secretly meet with a Russian delegation to get dirt on their opponent? You would merely say that's inadvisable?
Yeah, if you're asking me would I do it, I hope I wouldn't do it. But it was not illegal. It was,
You're allowed. Did Hillary have meetings?
Stupid, foolish, ill-advised.
other
Well,
people?
it is illegal to conspire to get incriminating opposition research from a hostile government that is of financial value to a campaign. Wouldn't that violate campaign laws?
I don't know all those facts to be true.
Well, your report, Mr. Durham, doesn't dispute anything Mueller found, did it?
No, our object, our aim was not to dispute Director Mueller. I have the greatest regard, highest regard for Director Mueller. He's a patriot.
The only distinguishment between his investigation and yours is he refused to bring charges where he couldn't prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt, and you did. I yield back.
All right, that is the guy who just got censured in the United States Congress. What a total loser. And he had a difficult time there with some questions. You know, they're trying to turn the basic thrust of this is that they've got very little evidence behind their claims. There's a lot more evidence that they made it all up. So Schiff will just latch onto any little thing that he can, turn that into the evidence that he needs to justify his existence. But America knows better. That's why he got censured. Total loser. All right, so Matt Gaetz is also a representative in Congress, as we know here, and he's also unhappy with the Durham report. Now, you know, John Durham spent a lot of time investigating this. We know that this nefariousness occurred. We know that Michael Sussman was involved in this, and all of these people were very smart people, very smart lawyers who knew better, knew to do their due diligence, and didn't, because it served their ends. And so we were expecting a little bit more from John Durham in terms of consequences here, but maybe there's only so much he can do, and we're asking if Congress will open up this report for us and do something about it, whether it's adjusting appropriations for the FBI, defunding them, passing some resolution, some legislation, who knows? But we want to see something, and Matt Gaetz is experiencing the same frustration many of us have experienced, and he shares it with us here.
The gentleman from Florida is recognized.
Yeah, I agree with Mr. Biggs. You've given us testimony today that you're disappointed that the FBI didn't cooperate more, right? That was your testimony.
Said that.
Yeah, so we're disappointed too, but the difference is when regular folks do things that are wrong and unlawful, there's typically greater effort to try to get those people before a grand jury to utilize criminal process where appropriate, not for other purposes. And it's just like, oh, well, Bill Priestep, the guy who might have set this whole op in motion, he just didn't want to talk to you about certain things, and you were real accommodating to that.
That's okay,
and
no
then
problem.
Mifsud, the person who juices Papadopoulos to create this predicate that you find improper. You guys, I mean, did you ever know who his lawyer was, Mifsud's lawyer?
Talked to his lawyer in Europe. I don't know if
So wait, you could find the guy's lawyer, but you couldn't find him?
We contacted somebody that we knew had represented him, and a part of the effort to try to locate him.
And you got the lawyer. And then now you're sitting here in front of the judiciary saying you could find the guy's lawyer, but you couldn't effectuate the service of a subpoena because you couldn't find him?
Well,
do you know how
first of all,
silly that sounds?
as you may or may not know, we wouldn't have the authority to serve a subpoena overseas. The lawyer didn't know where Mifsud was. He was in communication with him, but he claimed not to know where he was. And we were trying to arrange an opportunity to talk to Mifsud.
Did you take possession of 2 BlackBerry phones from Mifsud in any way?
There were phones that were provided to us by
so you could find the
Mifsud's
phones, but
lawyer.
not the guy.
Correct?
Do you see how silly this looks? Like you found the lawyer, you found the phones, but the actual dude who got ordered by Western intelligence to go start this thing you couldn't find? It's kind of laughable. It seems like more than disappointment. It seems like you weren't really trying to expose the true core of the corruption. That you were trying to go at it another way.
Uh-oh.
As we said in the report, and as I said in my opening remarks, we pursued the facts as best we could.
Well, how about this
tools
fact?
that we have?
Okay, how about this fact, Mr. Durham? The entire Mueller team does a hard reset on their Apple phone in synchronization to wipe away evidence.
Amazing.
Did you investigate that?
I've read that.
Well, why did you investigate it? Who gave the order on the Mueller team to wipe the phones?
Yeah, that was not something that we were asked to look at.
Outside the scope.
No, that's not true, Mr. Durham. That is not true, because I'm holding the document that authorizes your activity, and it specifically says the investigation of Special Counsel Robert Mueller. It's in Mr. Chairman, I seek unanimous consent to enter into the record the order that says that you're supposed to investigate these things. And so, like, whether it's the Mueller team, Mifsud, how about Azra Turk? Azra Turk, what's Azra Turk's real name? Do you know that?
I'm not going to be disclosing the names of FBI personnel that are otherwise unavailable.
But an FBI, so the FBI sends somebody to go honeypot George Papadopoulos. Who gave the order to do that?
I think that's beyond the scope of what's in the report.
It's literally the scope of what your charging order is.
Wow.
Who put it in motion? We get after it was put in motion, the FBI did a bunch of wrong and corrupt things. Totally understand. We're trying to deal with that. But when you are part of the cover-up, Mr. Durham, then it makes our job harder.
Wow.
Yeah, well, if that's your thought, I mean, there's no way of dissuading you from that. I can tell you that it's offensive and that the people who worked on this investigation have spent their lives trying to protect the people in this country.
Don't you get tired of hearing that? Every time we hear one of these people from the DOJ or from the FBI, it's the same stinking story. How dare you challenge the FBI? They are so honorable. All right, look. We have seen time and time again investigations by the DOJ into the DOJ and into the FBI, and the FBI investigating themselves. They all investigate themselves and they find they did nothing wrong. And when we've got questions about their milquetoast, ultra bland, just phone it in investigations, they turn around. How dare you talk about our team this way? And look, I do believe that there are good people at the DOJ, and I know that there are. And these people, though, I think have a default status, which is to always believe that the DOJ and their teams and everybody they're working for are operating in good faith, and that everybody in the institution is a strong and good institution, because they've been there their entire lives. Okay? Special Counsel Durham, people like Bill Barr, Attorney General Garland, they have been in these institutions their entire lives. And so they can't possibly go against the institution. And what does that mean practically? Whether you want to believe that they're doing this out of good faith or with malicious intent, either way, the final result is the institution gets protected. If they're operating out of good faith, you just, well, they're trying their hardest, and they just, they're not going to make the same conclusions that we make. But if it's operating out of malicious intent, out of bad faith, it is the opposite of that. They are protecting the institution. They are covering up for the people on their team. They are in collusion, in cahoots with the FBI. It's the prosecutors and the police, right? They're two sides of the same coin, essentially. So they will do the bare minimum. They will protect their own. When they're asked to investigate themselves, they always default to, how dare you question our integrity? Well, we do question your integrity. There is evil behavior happening here. People cheating in elections to try to use political narratives to further their ends. And so we're just tired of everybody getting the benefit of the doubt and you just defaulting to everybody was working really hard on this. We don't believe it.
And pursue within the law
You went
what it is that we are
Mr.
authorized
Durham.
to do.
You tried 2 cases, lost both of them.
Yeah.
And then the one guilty plea you got, Kleinsmith is back to practicing law in Washington, D.C. today.
Nothing
That's
happened.
beyond my control.
Right, but the fact that you allowed that plea to occur, right, and then the punishment was insufficient, the fact that you didn't charge Andrew McCabe, you didn't convict the lying Democrats or the lying Russians, you didn't investigate Mifsud or the Mueller probe, even though, as we sit here today in black letter, that was your charge. Have you ever heard of the Washington Generals?
The Washington Generals, yes.
Yeah, and they're the team that basically gets paid to show up and lose, right?
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure that the players who exert blood, sweat, and tears don't view it that way, but you might.
I think they do. I think they do, because the job of the Washington Generals is to show up every night and to play the Harlem Globetrotters. And their job
I'm
is
thinking,
to lose.
I'm sorry, of a different, I was thinking of a different thing.
Yeah, so their job is to lose. And I'm kind of wondering, and it just seems so facially obvious that it's not what's in your report that's telling, it's the omission, it's the lack of work you did. And for the people like the chairman who put trust in you, I think you let them down, I think you let the country down, and you are one of the barriers to the true accountability that we need.
Yeah, it's a giant book report, and that was our same commentary when we read through it. It's neat. It's a lot of nice information. Thanks for assembling it, John. Hopefully it was 4 years of nice work for you, and you woke up and sent a letter. Hey, we're investigating FBI corruption. Do you think you could come and testify? He responds, no, I'm not. I'm busy. And John and his team are like, well, sorry, I guess that's it. No, I guess he's in Hungary, so we can't go find him. So it is disappointing, and this is often by design. And you can look around, even in your local, police agencies and prosecutors' offices. They investigate themselves. They do a great job every time. They are upset as hell if you question their own investigation into themselves. And then after they've investigated themselves, they find they've done nothing wrong. Every time happens every time. And he gets asked about Robert Mueller, who they're probably friends with, probably known him for 25 years. He says, that man's an American patriot, damn it. And so am I. And how dare you question me? And, look, yeah, maybe I didn't do a good a job as maybe you would have. I didn't investigate this, that, or the other thing. But that was because of other reasons, right? All excuses, all day long. Well, of this, that, and the other. No, it's because that would impugn your own institution. And John Durham felt very much, I think it's a good analogy, like the Washington General showed up with Michael Sussman. I don't even think John Durham participated in that trial, right? It was other people from the US DOJ, and we were asking ourselves about how much effort they put into that case versus how much effort the other DOJers put into other cases, like the J6 cases. And you see this all the time, right? Anytime, like in Arizona, we had this one case where a police officer was put on trial, the Philip Brailsford case. And he was put on trial, and it's the prosecutors prosecuting a police officer with whom they've had a relationship with for a long time. And so it feels like they just throw the case. If this was somebody on the other side, they would prosecute them until the end of the earth. But because they're on the same side, they get a glance at whatever they're doing, and you move on.
Do I get to respond to that or comment on that? Yeah. Well, I don't know if you've ever investigated a crime.
I don't know that you have. You didn't investigate these, Mr. Durham.
Yeah.
How about Andy McCabe? Did you charge him? Did you investigate him?
Gentlemen, time has expired. The witness can respond, and then we'll move on to our last.
I don't know, sir, whether or not you've ever had occasion to try to investigate crimes under the rules and regulations and under the Constitution that we're bound by. We can gather evidence in particularly lawful ways. Can't charge people because we might think something.
Unless you're the FBI, what do you mean gather evidence in lawful ways? You mean like creating fake FISA warrants and going to a FISA court? Creating fake dossiers and then going and submitting those to judges? You mean like that? That's what the FBI did. And that's what U.S. attorneys were doing in colluding with that. The FBI didn't just walk up to the DOJ and submit a form. They were working with the DOJ to get these warrants. They are working together on all of this stuff.
You didn't investigate. You didn't investigate the Mueller team wiping their phones, and you won't tell us who gave the orders because you're protecting those people.
Gentlemen's time has expired.
Brutal. Give Matt Gaetz some more time. We want to hear more from him because that was great, and it's exactly right. And there's some good information that came out in the Durham report, but it's exactly what you'd expect. It's like, okay, he delivered exactly what he wanted to deliver. It provides some explanation, but no consequence. And we want consequence. And so this came over from our friend Rocky Water on Locals, shared us this clip that he pulled over from C-SPAN. This came out, very short clip, but it begs the question, who watches the watchmen? Who watches the watchers?
Let's sum it up. Vice President Biden and President Obama knew about it. Hillary fabricated it. The FBI orchestrated it, and the media sold it to the public, and it's still out there. The question is, who watches the watchmen? The FBI has become a...
We do. We watch the watchmen, baby. That's why we're here. That's why you're here. I appreciate you joining us as we cover all of this and more. Durham testifies in front of Congress. We'll see if Congress likes his answers and if they do anything with it in the time to come. And so that, my friends, is it on the segment here with John Durham. And we've got one final segment on the day, which is all about Comer and about the Hunter Biden saga that we've been covering some time here. The Biden crime family marches forward. Congress is demanding answers about this. And we've talked about the FD 1023 form that the FBI has been hiding and slow rolling. They really don't want Congress to get their hands on it because it might be pretty bad for the Biden administration and for the FBI, who's been allegedly covering this up now for years. But when Comer actually did look at that FD 1023, something interesting happened. He noticed that there were a couple footnotes on there, and the footnotes referenced some other documents. And so he said, hey, I've got a great idea. I'm going to ask for those other documents. I want to see what this one FD 1023 references and look at the other records. And so they actually set up a meeting for this, and the two of them got together. The FBI apparently brought over some documents, but the problem is the documents were heavily redacted, so Comer didn't get to see anything, and he wasn't happy about it. He said today the FBI brought 2 unclassified FD 1023 forms for my review. Again, this stuff is unclassified. But those records were heavily redacted, so the FBI didn't do anything to provide the data, they just brought the forms. He says Americans have lost confidence in the FBI's ability to enforce the law impartially. I can say that again, and I will. Americans have lost confidence in the FBI's ability to enforce the law impartially. Felt good. The FBI must provide unredacted copies of these records. Here's the full statement. Comer said this, coming out of Washington. He said, this is the House Committee on Oversight and the chairman, Comer, issuing the following statement. After reviewing 2 unclassified FBI-generated FD 1023 forms that are related to the June 20th FD 1023 form that memorializes a confidential human source's conversations with a foreign national who claimed to have bribed Joe Biden. Bribed Joe Biden. So the one form we've already talked about references 2 other forms. Comer saw those 2 forms, but it didn't go well. Here's what Comer reports. He says today the FBI brought 2 unclassified FD 1023 forms that were heavily redacted to a secure facility to be reviewed. What is the FBI hiding from Congress? Americans have lost confidence in the FBI's ability to enforce the law impartially, and the FBI's secrecy shows that they aren't interested in regaining their trust. The FBI must provide unredacted copies of these records and provide answers about what investigative actions were taken to verify these serious bribery allegations against President Biden. And so now we're really keeping tabs on 3 FD 1023 now, FD 1023 forms now, and James Comer explains more about his meeting and exactly what happened there.
A lot of redactions in these documents. I would estimate that 55 to 60% of the 2 documents were redacted. Also, the way I knew about these 2 documents that the FBI initially denied having was that there were footnotes in the original document that the whistleblower brought to Grassley and I. And in the footnotes, they referenced 2 other 1023s, one dated 2017 and one dated 2018. The 2 documents that they provided me today that were heavily redacted, the one thing that wasn't redacted was the date, and both dates were 2017. Whoa. So I asked them to bring me the 2018 one, and it's just a complete waste of my time. It's a
complete waste of time. So that means they brought the wrong forms, okay? They didn't even bring the right documents. Man, I don't know if this is just because they're the FBI and they're idiots, or if this is because they're intentionally trying to stonewall and slow roll this whole thing. Oh, man! You're not going to believe this, James. James is like, oh, gosh, what? What is it now? Pfft, I grabbed the wrong file. You know, I thought it was this one. It's the wrong. It's just, literally, it's on my desk. It's right there. It's just a different manila folder. I thought they looked the same. You know, it's all confusing. Well, can you go get it? I can't. I got to pick my kids up tonight. So, you know, it's soccer night. So we can't see the document today? No, sorry. I'll get the other folder. I'll bring it back to you next week. Congress just sits there like, I guess I'll see you next week then.
Another example of the FBI stalling, stonewalling, doing everything they can to obstruct the House Oversight Committee's credible investigation of Biden bribery.
So what do? Do you threaten to hold Wray in contempt of Congress again?
Yeah, well, Jim Jordan and I just had this conversation. We have a lot of questions for Director Wray pertaining to the Form 1023s, but we also have a lot of questions for the U.S. Attorney in Delaware that you just talked to Senator Cruz about. The last line in his statement today said this is an ongoing investigation. That's important because the reason the FBI won't turn over the 1023 forms and the reason that the Treasury Cabinet won't let me have those suspicious activity reports that detailed the Bidens involved in money laundering schemes is because they say that it's part of an ongoing investigation.
So if the Hunter Biden investigation is over because he's taking a guilty plea, then that means that there's no justification to withhold these documents any further, right? And James Comer should be able to get his hands on them because they said we can't give this to you until we know what to do with it. And if the investigation is concluded, everything should be open.
They're stonewalling, but
they're stonewalling.
Congressman, so what do? Do you offer, I'm going to hold you in contempt again? Is that what you do?
Well, we're discussing our options, but obviously September. It is among them. And September is a big month. We are going to have to stick together as Republicans and cut this budget to where we hold these people accountable. That's the only way to do it in this town. We have exercised every option. We will use the contempt option. We will use the impeachment option. We will use any option. But I think the most realistic option to get rid of these people, to get new people in place in these deep state bureaucracies is to cut their budget. So I think the House of Representatives is committed to doing that. I hope that Senator Cruz and Senator Rubio and Rand Paul and those guys can hold the line in the Senate and help us do that in the Senate.
So you cut?
They're not. They're not going to do anything. They already lost that budget battle. Rolled over. So we'll see. Now, they're going to continue. They've got contempt. They've got some other mechanisms, but Comer is saying the FBI knows. They're basically in charge. They're running the country. They might be running the presidency based on what they have over Joe Biden. Who knows? But some people are saying this is a pretty major double standard. We've got the Biden crime family that can run wild around the world, making tens of millions of dollars allegedly from foreign nationals in exchange for policy position changes. FBI is covering the whole thing up. They won't give anything over to James Comer. And we know that Hunter Biden just took a guilty plea where he's not going to be facing any real consequences at all. In fact, the felony charge is going to be dismissed through diversion. He'll have 2 petty misdemeanor charges, not even probation, from what we can gather. And people are wondering, how does he have so much white privilege? Why are there 2 tiers of justice in this country? Why is Joe Biden enabling special privileges for Hunter, who is a straight white male born into one of the richest families in America with the most political power anybody's ever seen, getting such a sweetheart plea deal, while many other Americans who've been victimized by Joe Biden in his 1994 crime bill, including the African American community, are not getting those same privileges. And now we have 2 gentlemen in Congress who are calling this to attention. One of them is the great Wesley Hunt from Texas.
Hunter Biden will likely serve no jail time for these offenses. And yet there was no early morning SWAT raid on Hunter's home in coordination with the media either.
That's true.
The American people are sick and tired of this 2-tiered justice system. And as a black man, I'm tired of seeing this kind of discretion used to favor people like Hunter Biden because he's white and a son of a president.
I'm tired of it too.
While Hunter Biden will serve no jail time for these charges, black men across this country are in prison for years for the exact same crimes. And I'm not surprised, because I guess this selective justice shouldn't become as a surprise to anyone in this room, because after all, Joe Biden was one of the authors of the 94 crime bill.
That's right.
One of my all-time favorites. And we could see what that has done to black men across this country.
Yes! That's exactly right. We can see what it has done. More black men in America are in prison because of Joe Biden than any other person in America. Nobody's responsible for more black men in America than Joe Biden is. And I challenge anybody to come up with somebody who's more responsible than he is. 1986 crime bill, 88 crime bill, 94 crime bill. Mandatory minimums, 3-strike laws, crack cocaine rules, first strike offenders, 5-year mandatory minimums, all the things. Joe Biden. But his son, who was, or maybe is, we don't know, was a crackhead that was the target of those laws that Joe Biden put in place. And so Mr. Hunt from Texas is exactly right. There are double standards. And I'm very curious as to what all the liberal Democrats have to say about this. Are they defending Hunter Biden's plea deal? Are they defending his white privilege? That's racist.
Because everybody's looking at.
This is Byron Donalds, who agrees with Mr. Hunt, by the way.
What he actually got charged with. I mean, look, $1.2 million in tax evasion, and you plead to 2 misdemeanors? Give me a break. That's a flat out joke. Go ask Wesley Snipes and some of the other people that have served jail time for tax evasion. And don't even get me started on the gun charge. Kodak Black and other people, they got sent to jail for 2 and 3 years for a similar situation. It looks like he's going to take a walk. This is the two-tier system of justice in our country, which is disgusting. And what everybody really wants in our country is just apply the law evenly.
Fairness.
Doesn't matter if you're Hunter Biden or if your name is Hillary Clinton. Just be consistent.
Shout out to Byron Donalds and to Mr. Hunt out of Texas, Wesley, explaining we're pretty sick and tired of these 2 tiers of justice. And I mean that genuinely. Right? If they wanted to prosecute Trump for these documents, okay. And they showed up with Hillary Clinton being charged and Joe Biden being charged and Mike Pence being charged, and they started raiding everybody else's homes like Nancy Pelosi's and Chuck Schumer. And how many documents does Mitch McConnell have? Let's be serious. And we got tabs on all of these people. What can we say here? All right. Round them all up. Get those documents in order. Let's get to the bottom of it. Let's clean out the closet once and for all. But that's not happening. We have 2 tiers of justice. We have one side that is being prosecuted. Only one group of people are the disfavored defendant class. Merrick Garland knows it, and he's such a weenie, so spineless, he won't even comment on it. Just for context, Merrick Garland is the Attorney General of the United States. He works for Joe Biden. Merrick Garland employs U.S. attorneys at the DOJ, which means one of those U.S. attorneys is responsible for prosecuting Joe Biden's son, Hunty. Merrick Garland, his office, manages the prosecution of the president's son. People have questions about the DOJ's plea deal and the double standards that exist here. They're asking him about the case involving his boss's son, and he won't even answer anything about it.
Do these cases reflect a different standard of justice depending on political leanings?
So, as I said, from the moment of my appointment as Attorney General, I would leave this matter in the hands of the United States Attorney, who was appointed by the previous president and assigned to this matter by the previous administration, that he would be given full authority to decide the matter as he decided was appropriate. And that's what he's done. And if you have any further questions about that matter, you should direct them to the U.S. Attorney to explain his decision.
Wow. So he's not even going to defend his own U.S. attorney. He just says, just go talk to him about it. I don't want to be involved in your questions. I gave him full authority to make his own decisions without any pressure from his boss. So do you think that this U.S. attorney, David Weiss, by the way, who is not the only person working on this, there were other attorneys, we covered their names yesterday, and they've got a lot of other very interesting relationships, including with FBI Director Louis Frey, who paid the Joe Biden family $100,000. Former FBI Director Louis Frey, $100,000 to Halley's Trust. And his friend was working at the U.S. DOJ and was a co-prosecutor in this case. So a lot of nefariousness in here. Merrick Garland doesn't want to answer any real questions about it because, well, he likes this veil of separation. He's pretending that he's arm's length away from what's happening here when we know he's not. We know it's the president's son. You can't pretend like you're not involved in this. We know he is. We know they're covering up for his own team while prosecuting the other team. And Merrick Garland and the DOJ will continue to do it because this is the new campaign. Joe Biden is not going to be running for presidency in a traditional sense. He's going to be running by prosecuting his political enemies because that's the new America that we live in, the Joe Biden America. All right, my friends, that is it for us on the day. Now, we got to make sure we're properly fortified before we get into our questions here. Make sure you get your Field of Greens, courtesy of our friends over at Field of Greens, because it's important we all lose those leftover pandemic pounds. We got to be healthy, but we're all sick of the ads for weight loss pills and fad diets. You know, we've all been there. We've all done that. And they just don't work. But you know what does? Eating 5 healthy servings of fruits and vegetables every day. You do that, and the weight would probably just fall right off. But look, vegetables, I know, not a fan. And fruit, who's got time to prepare that every day? Not me. Instead, let's talk about Field of Greens. Now, Field of Greens is a science-backed formula. Very specific fruits and vegetables that you're not going to find in any other product. Proper nutrition reboots your metabolism so you can burn calories faster and lose weight the healthier way. And Field of Greens is the only brand backed by a better health promise. Yes, you're going to look and feel healthier fast, but the greater proof is going to come at your next checkup when your doctor says, wow, you've lost weight. Whatever you're doing, keep it up. So let's get you started. Go on over to fieldofgreens.com. Don't forget to save 15% off. Save 15% with code Robert when you go in, load your cart up, and you check out. Fieldofgreens.com, 15% with code Robert. The vegetables want to be eaten. I see Get 2 in it says, I just ate 2 donuts, which is, you know, delicious, but not as healthy as your Field of Greens. So get your Field of Greens. The vegetables want to be eaten. It's delicious. It goes down. It does actually taste good. And if you doubt me on it, just go look at the label. Just go to fieldofgreens.com. Look at the label. You'll go, oh, wow. You'll say, that Rob Govea, he wasn't kidding me. And so check it out, fieldofgreens.com. But that, my friends, is it for us on the day. We are going around to our after party after we hear from you. We've got some questions and some comments and some very nice, very generous super chats that have come in, and we're very grateful for those. And so let's get those puppies pulled up here. It was a little bit of a discombobulated show because we jumped right into the business on the day. And our first one was actually from yesterday. From Adesia, says, happy summer all. Thank you very much, Adesia. We missed this one yesterday. It came in late. But happy summer to you. It's summer solstice, right? We're here. Patrick Parker says, damn right, Mr. Clean. I hope you stay coherent until President Trump makes it back to the White House. Good to see you, Patrick. I don't know who you were referencing as Mr. Clean. I was trying to think of who that might be. But there's a bunch of people who it could be. So we appreciate that one. This one came in from Dolphin Fan is the man. We've got 5 new membos coming in here. Jerry C. Maynor. We've got King Ginger, Robert G., and Raul Ramirez, all in the house, courtesy of Dolphin Fan is the man. Thank you very much, Dolphin Fan. We got Michael Allen Hughes, says Schiff wanted to be a fiction writer in Hollywood. Well, maybe he can have that job now that he has been censured. Gosh, total loser. Hey, here's the one that came in from Rocky Water over on Locals. Says, as always, Rob, love what you do, Rob, and thanks and happy Wednesday. Here's my comment. The Trump allegations being, quote, found false isn't the problem. No one argues that allegations can't be duly investigated and found false. The problem here is when the allegations were known to be false, and the answer for Schiff, as well as the DOJ, is immediately. Yeah, so in other words, I think I understand what you're saying. Like, you can have a thesis, investigate the thesis, and be found to be wrong. Your thesis is wrong. And that's okay, right? You can have concepts that you're wrong about. But then you can also have concepts that you're wrong about and you still sell as being true. And that's where you become dishonest. Now you know it's not true and you become dishonest after the fact. Good to see you, Rocky Water. Thanks for the comment. Oh, you said, oh, there's another part to this. That's from Renal. This is from Renal. Says, this is an official disruption of the government operation. Felonies for all of them. Felonies. They're all insurrectionists. FBI should be raiding all of their houses as we speak. Thank you, NY. Rocky Water says, Rob, I owe you another tip. I was bored with this whole censure thing, but I had no idea it involved public shaming and insurrection. Worth every penny. Must see TV. Thanks again. Well, Rocky Water, I'm glad it worked out. I thought it was going to be good. I wasn't sure if it was going to be good. I'm like, it's going to happen right around the show time, and I had other things prepared, and it worked out. So I'm glad that we got to go through it together because that was a lot more fun than even I thought it was going to be. Now, I was hoping that they were going to read through the full resolution there on the floor, but maybe that's just another time, or they only read the first part of it. Maybe McCarthy, I don't know. I was hoping for fun. Yeah, it was good timing. It was hilarious. It was good. I'm glad we got to go through it together. So glad you joined us. C. Wolf says, wow, those Democrats are a bunch of hypocrites. Apparently they don't like the democratic process. No, they're insurrectionists, man. Can you believe that? Insurrected 3 times. There are J6ers who are sitting in prison for this right now, for interfering with the operation of government. TOS Forever says, woohoo, America is blessing God with support, truth over lies, and life over death. My heart is beating like a big drum with joy. May no changes be made. TOS Forever coming in over on Locals. Thank you, TOS. Super funny. Yeah, but yeah, because Schiff got censured, obviously. A Bad Poet says, who is your pick for the next? Raskin, Plaskett, Pelosi, Nadler, or... That's a good question. Oh, man. Can you censure a guy with cancer? Oh, that's a hard one. Can you censor a guy with cancer? Would you vote for that? I don't know. That's a tough one, huh? It is Jamie Raskin. What do you think? Yeah, John McGarvey absolutely says yes, I would over here from Crash. Shane says in a heartbeat, definitely. Censure him harder. Yeah, definitely. Oh, that's funny. Amazing. Yeah, censure him. Yeah, he's dead. Jim says, yeah, censure him. No problem. Not even a hard choice. Yeah, that's what happens, you know. So I guess you got the... I was going to say maybe Plaskett for her attempt at wanting to eliminate Trump. You know, he should be, I think she said, eliminated, which is a problematic thing. But Raskin's, you know, Raskin's a ranking person, so... You'd want to put him at the top of the list. Jigum says, hopefully this is in only the start of real action in the House. Garland and Wray next. Yeah, with maybe subpoenas and contempt would be good. Good to see you, Jigum. Meme Smith extraordinaire in the House. Nikki Perez became a member for 4 months. Wow, 4 months. You know, that's kind of, we're kind of exiting the honeymoon period now. You could say things are getting serious. Today was a good day. Today was a good day, Mr. Comey. Today was a good day, Mr. Comey, from our friend Nikki. Fred Pedamonte and his rascally dog Johnny are in the House. They say, so Luna, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and Boebert. And that means we get things done now? Luna was a big victor on this. And yeah, she was getting a little bit castigated for the failure of the $16 million attempt, but she was successful on this one. And here is Luna. This is her new pinned tweet. She's celebrating, rightfully so. Luna just posted this. Representative Adam Schiff from California's 30th district has been censured and referred to ethics for an investigation. Big victory to her for getting it done. Shout out to Luna. Fred Pedamonte, yeah, they get stuff done. Pan-seared ribeye, sounds delicious, says, remember when the Clinton Chappaqua garage fire caught and burned down mysteriously about this time? I wonder what documents were destroyed in there. That's a good question. I don't know. I don't remember much about that. Was there a garage fire from the Clintons? That's just amazing. Not a surprise at all. From Pan-seared ribeye. This one came in from C. Wolf over on Locals. Says, I find it hard to believe Russia is the only foreign power trying to interfere in our elections. I agree. I think that's probably not only them. It's probably all of them. Did Durham do any comparison of Russia to China, Iran, or other foreign powers? Are they all equally bad and the Russians are the only ones being called out? I think the Russians are just the useful scapegoat. I would imagine that everybody's doing it. I would imagine that even our allies are poking at our elections, right? Don't you do that if you're just a national power? That would only deflate Shifty Schiff's BS. Never mind his abuse of power on Twitter and social media against First Amendment rights and against Americans. Yeah, and Schiff, remember, his people were telling Twitter and other, big tech platforms to literally censor people. Don't Be Hating says, tell him, Rob. You telling Adam up made my night. Well, thank you, Don't Be Hating. Yeah, we had some fun tonight. Tonight was a fun one. All with all the insurrectionists. Woods Precision's Arms is in the house. Looks like a great YouTube channel. Says, if I was at the committee hearing, I would have asked Durham, did Mr. Schiff's evidence help you? He said he had undeniable proof from 2 years. I'm sure he handed that over to you, right? To help? Didn't he? And did it help? Yeah, those would have been, that would have been a great question. That would have been a great question, Woods Precision Arm. A lot of those would have been good because Schiff was highly involved in all of this and he was sitting right there. Now, I liked Matt Gaetz' questions, and there were other good questions there. We just didn't have time for all of them. But that would have been a good one. Woods, you should run for Congress. We'd like to see you up there. John McGarvey says, we need a J21 committee to get to the bottom of that insurrection. We do. A June 21st committee. I totally endorse that idea. John McGarvey, brilliant. Brilliant. We should have a whole select committee. You're right. Who should head that? We should have a whole insurrection committee and bring Clavicle Girl back out there to tell us how Donald Trump... was Trump responsible for that? Maybe he should be impeached again. Good to see you, John McGarvey. Thanks for being here, brother. And we have another one from Seawolf says, thank God for Matt Gaetz. He's one of the very few legislators with the cojones to be a straight-up shooter, unlike most of the other feckless script readers up there. Jeff Pearson says, Durham has said that FBI employees have apologized for their role in the Trump persecution. Why have they not apologized publicly? Cowards, says Jeff Pearson. Well, they probably lose their jobs, and you might say that's cowardly, but once you're in an institution like that, you don't speak out against the institution. That's why they all say, oh, no, everybody's a hero who works here. Everybody's a hero, literally. Everybody here loves America, and they would never do anything bad. They work hard all the time, 24/7, 100 days out of the week. You go, all right, relax a little bit, okay? There's not that many days in a week, psycho. Take it easy. But they love talking about how amazing their institutions are because they're lifelong lifers at the institution. A bad poet is here. Says, what about the FBI saying Biden reports were too voluminous is a give out for that month with no follow-up? Oh, yeah, you mean about the FD 1023. Yeah, because what happened, this was before they acknowledged the FD 1023. Remember, they didn't even want to admit it existed. So they said, okay, well, that's fine. We know what month it is, so we want all the records that say Biden within this month. Give us those then. And they said, well, we definitely don't want to give you those. There's too many of those. And they said, oh, there are. Well, we want to see them. And they said, how about we just give you the 1023 instead? So they dug out that document. But you're right about that. There was no follow-up. What about those other documents? This one came in from Zulu in the house. Says, on a scale of 1 to 87,000, which is the number of IRS agents that are going to be raiding all of our bank accounts in the foreseeable future, some of them with guns. Zulu says, on a scale of 1 to 87,000, how much more severe should we desire tax evasion penalties to be since we keep the same energy on all things? Well, I don't know, but I do think that some of those FBI or IRS agents, some of those 87,000 of them, I think it would be useful if they investigated the Biden crime family rather than small-time business owners who, or, individual taxpayers who, might be in the disfavored IRS category. I'm thinking about when the IRS was being weaponized against conservative entities, and they were going after them specifically because they were a strong arm of the Obama administration. So, equal standards across the board. Now since they did that for the Obama years, I think the IRS would be, it's only fair that they go investigate the Bidens. And I don't even think all 87,000 of them should be applicable to that. I think maybe only 86,000 would be good. 86,000 IRS agents investigate all of the Biden tentacles all over the world. Burisma, Rosemont Seneca, Bohai Harvest would be a good start. And the penalty should be the same. Equal justice. So if Wesley Snipes gets convicted and prison time, same should happen for old Hunty Poo. Thank you, Zulu. So on a scale of 1 to 87,000, the answer is 86,000, all directed for Joe Biden. The remaining 1,000 IRS agents, they can go to Hillary. All right, thank you for the great comment. Jeff Pearson says, the indictment is proof the republic has fallen. And I think I agree with you in many ways here. I think that this is I felt this when New York did it, and I feel it even more now that the federal government has done it. Because New York, you at least had the argument that there was some separation there. New York was a local prosecutor, certainly a Democrat, but it wasn't Joe Biden. Okay, it wasn't Joe Biden's DOJ prosecuting Trump. The indictment federally, and the second one is going to be the second nail in the coffin. That'll be the end of it. And I don't mean that that the country is over, but I do mean that the American, the current form of our government, which is really, I think, different. When I think about this stuff, I like to zoom out. I really think the federal government has become a perverted entity on top of American values. So I really believe in the Republic. I really believe in, our Constitution, the values that the Constitution embodies. I think they're incredible. And a republic is not a bad form of government as a republic. And our citizenry, our brothers and sisters in America, are amazing people. I have a lot of faith in America. But I think our federal government is currently our biggest captor in the world. They make the most oppression and most pain in reality in all of our lives. And so as the federal government continues to really harm themselves, their legitimacy, we see that their state power, the ability of a state to actualize anything that it sets its mind to, is going to diminish. And so the federal government will slowly become less effective and more irrelevant ultimately. And when that happens, that's like our captor who is no longer able to keep us captive. That's a good thing. That means the captee becomes more free. But the Republic in its current form, under its current iteration, I think we're in the middle, truthfully, of a communist takeover, essentially. And I know that sounds hyperbolic, but there's really no other way to explain it. And I think this has already been something that's happened in other countries in history, and it's happening here. And for people to sit here and say this is not a takeover or this is not communism, I think is being very far removed from reality. And it's like the frog in the boiling pot. You don't know that you're being boiled. We do. The rest of the country doesn't, right? The rest of the country just, gets drunk, spends all day on social media, and then, watches football or, just is totally unplugged from what's happening. They get obsessed with the woke movement or whatever they're involved in. And it's just, they're disconnected from what's really happening in the Republic. I think this, though, when you go back in history books and you try to pinpoint it, they'll say, yes, when America started prosecuting its political opponents was the beginning of the end. And you know what? I'm grateful that we're here together to be able to talk about it and that we're building a community around it, because I think that's going to be very important for the future. John McGarvey became a monthly supporter over on Locals. And so, John, man, I think that we have you now in 3 places, man, and I'm grateful for that. Thank you for becoming a supporter over on Locals, on Rumble, and on Locals, and on YouTube. John, you're amazing. Thanks, brother. And thanks for being here and for all the amazing support. Patrick Parker says, Mr. Clean is Raskin. Oh, it's a cancer joke. I was hoping it wasn't a cancer joke, but it was a cancer joke. All right. Well, thank you, Patrick Parker. It's your joke, not my joke. And, I understand your point on that. I hope you're doing well, Patrick. Thank you for the tip. Zulu! What a nice Zulu! Invited 5 new members. So did Dolphin Fan today, which means tomorrow morning is going to be lit when we have our members-only morning stream. We got John Doodle, Sean Wookie, Just Cause, Mama Pillow, and Fly Velly all in the house, courtesy of Zulu. Thank you very much, Zulu, for bringing in 5 new members. Curtis Bartle says the campfire is changing. The campfire is changing. Maybe there's some change in the air. We see some censuring. We see some contempt efforts all percolating around. Curtis, thank you very much for the tip, my friend, for the dono. Rocky Water says, C-SPAN had a different camera angle during the Gaetz question. Got to watch and keep your eye on the bald guy in the audience. This guy gets it. Here's the link. All right, let's see what this one is. Let me pull it up over here so that we can get the sound on the screen. Boom. All right, bald guy in the background gets it.
You find improper. You guys, I mean, did you ever know who his lawyer was, Mifsud's lawyer?
Talked to his lawyer in Europe. I don't know if
So wait, you could find the guy's lawyer, but you couldn't find him?
We contacted somebody that we knew had represented him in a part of the effort to try to locate him.
And you got the lawyer. And then now you're sitting here in front of the judiciary saying you could find the guy's lawyer, but you couldn't effectuate the service of a subpoena because you couldn't find him?
Well,
Do you know
first
how
of all,
silly that sounds?
as you may or may not know, we wouldn't have the authority to serve a subpoena overseas. The lawyer didn't know where Mifsud was. He was in communication with him, but he claimed not to know where he was. And we were trying to arrange an opportunity to talk to Mifsud.
Did you take possession of 2 BlackBerry phones from Mifsud in any way?
There were phones that were provided to us by
so you could find the
Mifsud's
phones
lawyer.
with the guy.
Correct?
Do you see how silly this looks? Like you found the lawyer, you found the phones, but the actual dude who got ordered by Western intelligence to go start this thing you couldn't find? It's kind of laughable. It seems like more than disappointment. It seems like you weren't really trying to expose
It
the
does
true
seem
core
like
of the
that,
corruption
Matt.
that you were trying to.
All right, so you saw him? Yeah, he gets it. So good find from Rocky
create-
Waters. And you know, that's pretty cool. You can actually create clips on C-SPAN. Rocky Waters has been sending me some clips. So, and they give us a warning. This clip title and description were not created by C-SPAN, all right? Leave us alone. So that's pretty cool. Thank you for sending that over. Rocky Water is in the house. And we've also got some other ones coming in here. Indoctrination says, I've never cheated on my taxes, but it doesn't seem like a big deal. Well, I think that it depends on the definition of cheated, right? And so I think the people make mistakes on their taxes and people screw up. Taxes are very complicated. And so when we talk about cheating, we have a different level of intentionality. And so don't cheat on your taxes, all right? Definitely don't cheat on your taxes as a general rule. It's a big deal. Don't cheat on your taxes. All right, Pope Rackets touched me. Oh, gosh. Says, pay the federal government what they're worth. Nothing. Shout out to Nick Ricada. We have another one from Steel Stargazer. Says, did you hear about China building a military base in Cuba 90 miles away from the U.S.? Yeah, I mean, they need that, right? So that they can control the balloons, obviously. Like they can't. China's too far. How are they going to control the balloons and control the senators? They need to be closer. So they can just say, hey, vote for this way on my China bill. And all the senators just go, okay, and they all do it. So yeah, 90 miles away is a lot more convenient for them. If you're going to run a country, you don't want to do it from around the world. I mean, you want to be in close proximity. So they're here, which is great news. And the Chinese, shout out to our new Chinese overlords. All right, let's see what's going on over on Twitter before we wrap this up for our after party, my beautiful friends. We are going to hang out for a bit after we're done here. So if you're not already a member, we'd love to see you at watchingthewatchers.locals.com. On Twitter, we've got a couple comments. Raven Madness says, what children? They're giving us the shame, when is what they were doing to the Republicans. Mike from NJ says, as punishment, Luna should glue. Well, we'll leave that one there. If you haven't done so yet, Heidi Hole says you should cover the John Eastman trial, which we have not been covering. Oh, gosh. Chet has a Nancy Pelosi cleavage image on Twitter. You're going to have to go over there for that. Who voted present, says Raven, is a good question. We don't know. A guy from the industry is over there. We've got Onnitz on the house, says Gaetz did a great job of exposing the weak Durham investigation. And Danny McWilliams is in the house and says, can someone name one thing that the Democrats have not blamed Trump for? Bet you can't. Deplorable Fred says, Johnny came in today from the special counsel's office to Trump to tell me he got engaged to Alina Abba. Johnny got engaged to Alina Abba? That punk. Well, I don't think it's going to last. It's probably just a fling. I don't think it's going to last long. But Deplorable Fred is so proud of him. Yeah, that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. They're not going anywhere. Trust me on this. All right. And so that, my friends, is it for us on the day. Now, if you are a member, stick around. If you're on YouTube, join us on Telegram. but we're going over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com for our members-only after party. And in the mornings, we go through Trump docket, Biden schedule, congressional schedule, and we hit some other topics that we don't have time for here. And so it's a lot of fun, a little bit more of an intimate group. Watchingthewatchers.locals.com. We also have a private Telegram chat. And so no matter where you join, you can join on YouTube or join on Locals. Grab the Telegram chat, which is where our after parties take place. Also, don't forget to grab your Field of Greens, fieldofgreens.com. Save 15% off with code Robert. Also want to say, if you'd like to use this mind map, you can do so by going over to spotlightlawyer.com/mindmap, where you can create your own mind maps to your heart's desire. We also want to thank our mods and meme smiths who mod down the fort for us on the day. Today we had Donut Mind Me starting us out and clipping away for us. Big thanks. Donut Mind Me! Thank you, sir. We've got Dog Digger, Janek909, our friend John Allen's in the house. We've got Zach Nichols, Beyond Geo Stars, Zulu's in the house, along with Ronnie Cole, Playing Hooky, Just Cause, K-Bean, and our friend Vienticus Prime. And we appreciate everybody who is joining us on our community. And thank you to the mods and the meme smiths, our meme smiths as well. Sleepy Dog Lee, Geegum Geegum, and Nathan N810, all in the house. Zackles, well, it's, it kind of fits. Zach Nichols in the house. And we appreciate everybody who helps keep this show on the train on the track, the show's train on the track. It's been a long show. And so that is it for us on the day. We are going over for our after parties for a few minutes. Come and join us. But if I don't see you over there, my friends, I hope to see you right back here tomorrow, so that together, with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful night, my friends. Sleep very well. I'll see you right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.